Hello, Year 2, and welcome to today's English. So, this is our first English session where we are going to be hosting it from Teams. If you are watching this on YouTube at the moment, you can head over to Teams now, where you can also watch this video. And with that, there will be some resources available as well for the task later on. But if you are watching on YouTube, do check that you've got all of your proper login details for Teams. Pop over to there now, continue watching it on there, and then there will be the bits and bobs that you need for later. So, lesson starter then for today. It says insert the most suitable coordinating conjunction in each of the sentences below. Okay, so I've got 4 coordinating conjunctions for you: and, or, but, and so. You need to have a read through the sentence and see which one of those you think fits best. So the first one says, I don't go to town often. I love shopping. Okay, so that's number 1. So have a think. I don't go to town often and I love shopping. Do you think that sounds correct? Or I love shopping, but I love shopping. Have a think which one you think goes in there. The next one, Marla wanted to be a firefighter, a chef, firefighter, and the chef. We put on our waterproofs. And the last one, Mo fell over, grazed his elbow. Okay, if you're not sure on one, maybe miss it out and try the next one, and then you can see which one you've got left over at the end. Now, you don't have to write these down if you don't want to. Okay, it is completely optional. You can just say them out loud if you would like, but pause the screen now and have a go at those. Right, let's have a think what those answers should have been then. I don't go to town often, but I love shopping. So well done to you if you said but. So that was that one there. Marla wanted to be a firefighter or a chef. The rain was pouring, so we put on our waterproofs. Mo fell over and grazed his elbow. Well done to you then if you got all of those correct. So, as our learning intention says then, today we are going to be planning a Defeat the Monster tale. Okay. Now, we did this last Monday as well, and I did give you a little bit of a tip last Monday when we were doing the activity, and I said hold on to those because they will be useful next week. If you did or if you didn't, it doesn't matter. If you did, well done, because they will come in useful for you today. So today we're going to be innovating the story of the 3 Billy Goats Gruff, again, in preparation for our hot task. Now, we've innovated it once already last week, where we changed it to the 3 Highland horses, if you remember. Okay. However, today you're going to be innovating it once more. This is the final time then, and this is going to be for your hot task. Okay. We will talk a little bit more about what a hot task is tomorrow. I know you all know what a hot task is anyway, but just quickly, the hot task is the final version that you are going to be writing. Okay. And the hot task is one where you get a little bit less help from me and you try and do that a little bit more on your own. It means you get a little bit more of a choice over what you're writing about. You get to be really creative with it. You're not doing what I'm necessarily telling you to do. And it's a final way of me seeing and Miss Broadbent seeing all of the wonderful things that you have learned this term. Okay? So you do get a really good choice of what you would like to write about. Now, just to remind you, to innovate something means to change it, change something which is already established. So change something which is already there, especially by introducing new ideas, which is what you are going to be doing. That's what we did last week, and that is what you are going to be doing today. Now, just a reminder then of what's going to stay the same and what is going to change. So we are going to change the 3 animals again, okay? So they're not going to be goats anymore. They're not going to be horses anymore, okay? You can change them to the animal of your choice, okay? But they are still going to be 3 animals, okay? Because that is staying the same. It's going to be 3 of something, so you can have a think about that. Now, the setting is going to stay the same. So it's still going to be in the fields, still going to be in the bridge, we're still going to have a stream. Reason being, as you know, as I explained last week, that's because we did so much work on our setting descriptions, and I really want you to pull all of those wonderful descriptions that you were writing about into your final Defeat the Monster Tale. But I didn't want to change the setting. Hopefully you can remember and tweet and pull in some of those. And finally, you are still going to have a monster in your story that lives under the bridge. Okay, so it won't be a troll anymore and it won't be a witch anymore, but you can have a think about what that monster is. Now, as I just said, the things you're changing are the main characters, 3 somethings, okay, 3 chickens, 3 dogs. However, and also, sorry, you are going to change the monster as well. So it won't be a troll and it won't be a witch. Now, just like we did last week, as I say, you might have these already that you did last week, okay, which is absolutely wonderful. So what you need to do now is have a little think about your other options, okay? So it was a goat originally, so you need to now have a think about what who I should say your main character is going to be. So it could be that you have 3 geese, it could be that you have 3 cows, it might be that you have 3 pigs. It could even be an idea which is not on here. Okay, I've only put a few on there for you to maybe magpie. But if you've got another idea of an animal which you would like for it to be, you can use that, of course. And as I say, we are going to be changing it from the troll into something else. So these are just a few ideas which might inspire you. But again, you might think of something which is not on here, okay? Your challenge today then, first of all, decide who those main characters are going to be. Now, you might know that already. You might not need to sit and have a brainstorming session. You might have thought last week when you were planning, you know what, when I do my own version, that's definitely what I'm going to write about. So if you do, that's absolutely wonderful, okay? If you do need a bit of thinking time, that's fine. You can take that time this morning to do that. Now, when we're planning our story today, there are 2 different ways that you can do this, and I am going to talk you through both of them, okay? Now, both of the slides that I'm about to show you, I have actually attached these documents today onto today's lesson on Teams. So where you can see the video, you should also see that I've popped some attachments on there for you as well, okay? Now, if you have the access to a printer, that means that you can print these off and you can draw straight onto them, okay? And use that as your planning tool today, all right? If not, it is not the end of the world because you could recreate this onto a piece of paper and you don't have to do it in the amount of detail that I have done it. Okay, so have a look at this one then. So this is option number 1. This is the one that we are all used to doing. We do this lots and lots, and it is, of course, a text map. As you can see on this one, I've covered up the bits that need changing. Okay, I'm just going to make that slightly bigger for you. So if you want to go down the route of planning your story using a text map today, this is what you will use. Now, you can, as I say, you could print this off and you could draw your pictures of who your characters are going to be in those boxes. If you don't have access to a printer, that is not a problem at all. You could simply either redraw the text map out, okay, with those added changes on, or you may have your old text map from a few weeks ago, which you could stick little bits of paper on like we normally would, you know, like when we get post-it notes in the class and we cover up the bits that we're changing and we draw new things on those post-it notes. So that's another option for you, okay? You either print this off and draw the picture straight onto it, draw yourself a new text map, or get your old one and cover up the pictures, okay? Now, if you don't want to use a text map to plan out your story, that is absolutely fine. I know some people don't like using a text map, and if you don't, that is totally your choice. You can also use something which we call a boxing up grid, okay? Now, I just want you to ignore, because it does look like there's a lot of information on the screen. I want you to just ignore that bit there, okay? Now, a boxing up grid, just like this one, is a way of plotting out your story by just using bullet points or just using little sentences, okay? Now, as you can see here, let's look at this box. So this is the original story. This is the Three Billy Goats Gruff story. And as you can see over here, it says beginning. So in the beginning, you would just put some bullet points of what happens in the beginning of the story. So if it was the Three Billy Goats Gruff story, you've got introduce the three goats, where do they live, what do they love to do, and begin to hint at the problem. Okay, remember where we were saying their field had become all brown and barren. Okay. Similarly, we then did exactly the same when we did the three Highland horses. We introduced the horses, introduced where they live, introduced what they love to do, and then begin to hint at the problem. Now, this is going to be exactly the same for when you plan your story out today. Okay, so you may choose today to do your plan as like a bullet point list of what you're going to include in your story. So you would simply put beginning and then write maybe 3 or 4 bullet points of what's going to come at the beginning of your story. Now, I'm going to give you an example now, as if I was making up a completely new story. Okay, so let's just make that slightly smaller for you. So, say for example, I wanted to have the 3 Porky pigs, okay, as my story. Again, look, you can see I've tried to use a little bit of alliteration in there. If you can, that's wonderful. If you can't, don't worry about it, okay? So in the beginning of my story then, I'd need to make sure that I introduce the 3 pigs, okay? And then introduce where they live, what do they love to do, begin to hint on a problem. So I could put here that they love to eat. It doesn't have to be grass. You could choose something else. They love to eat pig food. Okay, but their field has totally run out of pig food. However, there is some on the other side, for example. Okay, so once you've planned out the beginning of your story, then you would start to think about the build-up. Okay, so as you can see, this was the original story. This was the Highland Horses story. So if we think about the Highland Horses one, 3 horses go in search of some breakfast and find a field. Introduce the troll that lives under the bridge. Okay, then if I was going to do that with my Porky Pig story, I could say 3 pigs. Sorry, too small for you. 3 pigs go in search of some breakfast. Introduce that. Okay, who can I have that lives under the bridge? I'm going to go for Ursula. Okay, introduce Ursula that lives under the bridge. Okay, if you remember, this one is Ursula here. She's my favourite. Okay, so where was I? On this one. Okay, so as you can see then, introduce 3 pigs. Where do they live? Okay, that's my build up done. Then you need to write some bullet points for your problem. 2 youngest animals attempt to cross. They are stopped by Ursula. Okay. Animals persuade the shouldn't be troll. I need to change that one. Because it wouldn't be troll, would it? Let me just cover that up. Stopped by Ursula. Animals persuade her, I could put. Animal persuade her to let them cross by offering their sibling, who is much tastier. Now, we had 3 goats that were boys, and then we had 3 horses that were boys. But your animals could be girls today. They could be female. It's completely up to you. Oldest animal decides to join his sibling, goes to the bridge and deliberately disturbs the, I could put monster, and then in brackets here, Ursula. Okay, so deliberately disturbs her or him. And then finally, you'd need to write some bullet points for your ending. The oldest the oldest pig and Ursula begin to battle. Just move that over. Begin to battle. Pig throws. Oh, I've done troll again. not the troll. I could put the oldest pig throws her into the water, never seen again. Okay, so this, as I say, is an attachment on today's lesson on Teams. Okay, so if you do have access to a printer, you could print this off and just fill in those blanks, just like I've done in red there, but relating to your story. And then when you go to write your story, you have got a guide there of what you've got to write each day. So you will know, okay, on this day, I'm writing my beginning. Today, I need to introduce the pigs. I need to introduce where they live, what they love to do, and then begin to hint at the problem. And that way, as you're writing the story, you remember all of those things that you've got to include. It's a lot like the text map. However, the text map is in pictures. Okay, we use the pictures to help us remember. If you don't want to do a text map, you could use a boxing up grid where it's bullet points. It's completely up to you. You might want to sit and write the bullet points today. You might want to sit and draw a text map today. It's your choice. It's your story. You decide how you plan it. Now, if you don't have your access to a printer to print those off, but you really wanted to do a boxing up grid, completely ignore all of these ones here, because that was the stories that we did before, and just do this column here, which is your story, because you do not need to sit and write out what happens in the 3 Billy Goats graph and the 3 Highland horses, because we've already done those. Okay, you could simply put beginning, tell me the bullet points that happen in the beginning, build up, tell me the bullet points that happen in the build up. Okay, now don't forget the plans that you're creating today, they're for you. Okay, they are to help you throughout the rest of the week in writing your story. So you can make them as detailed or not as detailed as you like. Okay, they're not for me, they're not for Miss Broadbent, they are completely for you to help you with the story. Okay, now as I always say with story writing, the more you plan, the more successful it's going to be. Okay, because without a plan, your story could go absolutely anywhere and not end up as high quality as it could be if you put the planning in. Okay, so as I always say, take your time with the planning, really think about where your story is going to go. Don't just think, oh, I don't need to plan it, I'm just going to go for it tomorrow. Okay, because you do need to have a good idea of where your story is going to go so that it flows nicely. Okay, so that's your challenge for today then. Okay, you can either plan using the text map, the boxing up grid, whatever suits you best. I'm going to leave that completely up to you. But have fun with it, be creative with it. Okay, you do not have to use any of these, which I've done here. Okay, you can think of your own ideas, but enjoy. And I look forward to hearing about all of the different characters who you are going to have in your story. I will speak to you all very soon. Bye for now.